I mean, that's the whole idea with fanaticism, is that it's just kind of, it gives me that icky kind of feeling. Whenever I see it in front of me, I'm like, it's very repulsive to me.
It's
like
very off-putting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Untempered enthusiasm. There's nothing wrong with enthusiasm. It's when it gets to the point of being completely untempered that it can be very dangerous.
And I always think of this image from like a cartoon when like the cartoon character has like pinwheel eyes.
Oh,
so like somebody who's a fanatic, like they'll just have these big bugged out eyes and like they're just kind of like looking through you and you're like, whoa, man, like take it easy.
Right.
As the crazy's coming up.
Well, they're talking at you, not talking with you. There's a difference in talking at someone and talking with someone. And fanatics tend to not be willing to engage in conversation.
Welcome to Confessions of a Financial Advisor, the antidote to conventional financial wisdom. My name is Al, and I've been a financial advisor for over 20 years. This podcast will explore the emotional and psychological factors that affect our behaviors. All of the other financial podcasts out there will talk about the numbers and the math. We will confront the stories that we all fuse with that ultimately set the course for our lives. I am not looking for new clients and have no intention on running for any kind of office. I'm going to tell you like it is and call out all the commonplace BS. Now, let's get into Confessions of a Financial Advisor. All right, we are on episode 16, and this one is called Fanaticism. Hi, Diane.
Hey, Al.
All right. Good to have you here as always. So the quote that got me started off on this path of thinking about fanaticism was the definition. So fanaticism consists of redoubling your efforts when you have forgotten your aim. And I think that's, what was that guy's name? George Santayana?
I don't know how to pronounce it.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah.
It's on the post.
It's on the posts. It was just such a cool, like, I never heard the definition said that way.
Well,
but it made so much sense.
Visual, like, just constantly increasing effort without even having any awareness of what you're aiming for or where you're trying to go. Like effort for the sake of effort.
Right. Or if you're way off course and you just keep pushing ahead and you have no idea where you're going.
Yeah.
And so we talk about like the sports fan, like the rabid sports fan. And being here in the South, we also mentioned that there's so many rivalries. One of the biggest ones down here is Duke and UNC Chapel Hill, right?
Yeah.
So everybody is on one side or the other there. And when basketball season's going on, they always play each other, I think like at least once or twice a season.
Yeah.
Man, those people like get crazed about those games. And the next day when you see them, I just remember this when I used to go into an office, whoever's team lost, those people would be down in the dumps all day long.
Like depressed. Yeah. Michigan and Ohio State's another one. I have some rabid Michigan friends who are
Michigan, Ohio State.
Just like, dude, it's just a game. Like, it's really just a game.
Yeah. University of South Carolina, Clemson. There's like a whole bunch of them, know. So wherever you went to school, a lot of these people never even went to school at these places.
Right.
Most of them never played on the team. I mean, it wasn't like, I could almost understand it a little bit more if you like played on the team and you went to that school.
Yeah.
It makes it a little bit different. But and then I mentioned to you this incident I had happen a few months ago. I'm at a sports bar. I see this guy. I'm having lunch at a sports bar. He's literally in full garb, San Francisco 49er, full garb, watching the game.
With his children. With
three children, very young, all under, I think, 9 or 10. Like one was like 3,
Yeah.
In a bar. There's basically a bar. And he's freaking out, like literally standing up, throwing his arms in the air. Like kind of muttering to himself and like just pissed at every play and like his team's losing. And he just looks like such a moron. And he's doing this in plain sight in public. I mean, everybody's looking at him, like, what is wrong? Otherwise, the guy seemed to look normal. Like he just seemed like a normal person.
Right.
But the way he was acting was so off the charts. And I was like, wow, why would you do this in public? Keep that inside, pal. Like, that's
what must he be like at home? Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. If that's what you do.
Dude.
Yeah. in some weird way, I almost respected the guy for not even caring about what anybody thought of him. Right. Yeah. And so that's the same guy as like the crazy preacher.
The fanatical preacher.
The fanatical preacher. There was let's get back to the church thing. So there's a preacher that down here in the South, I was in the church bands, and I used to watch him talk to us, and he would get very manic. Right. Meaning like he just
overzealous.
Like he had like 4 cups of coffee or like 3 Red Bulls and was on this tirade rants of God and the Lord and love and this and that. And he just started building it up and up and up. And I just remember kind of sitting back in my chair.
I'm going to slowly back away from this.
Yeah, like, whoa. So it's like this strange kind of, I don't know.
Over the top, overzealous, just crazy. I mean, it's crazy to see and witness something like that.
Yeah.
The scenario is.
The questions we always like doing on this podcast are, well, all right, there's benefits, right? There's benefits being a sports fan. You know, you get to have a good time watching the game. You look forward to football season. Sunday comes. You
hang out with friends.
Hang out with friends.
Go to the game, whatever.
Have some drinks or whatever.
Sure.
What's the downside? So where else does this show up in your life? How is this affecting relationships? How is this affecting your own psyche?
Well, I think it gets dangerous this is where I wonder, where is the tipping point? Like, where does it get beyond something for enjoyment and into a path of excess that left unchecked? Where could it lead?
Yeah. And it's sort of like this idea of tribalism where we all want to belong to like this team or a group or and where are the dangers in that? We kind of took it to the nth degree talking about Nazi Germany.
Right.
Where
they all bought into it. The political Kool-Aid they were being fed.
Everybody's
look how that turned out.
The whole world is oppressing the Germans and we need to fight back. It's like this kind of idea that everybody's against us.
The fault of the Jews. We'll talk about religion and let's just go ahead and kill them all. It's like, that's not crazy. Like,
on a grand scale. And so I quote Christopher Hitchens a lot on this podcast because I like him so much. I think everybody should go out and just look on YouTube, listen to this guy. He passed away like 8 years ago, but he was the funniest orator, in my opinion. And he talks about how religion specifically basically has this ingratiating way of like introducing itself these days because they're not allowed to be that fanatical in public. And there's laws against beating people for not believing what you believe in and for like really oppressing people. But he reminds the audience, he's like, just don't forget the way religion acted when it actually had true power. Bring it back 500 years or even less than that, where there wasn't
violent and cruel and just damaging
And so when you see the fanatic, the fanatic is always teetering on that frenzy.
The edge of sanity.
Yeah, they're tempered only by what social norms will tell them.
Yeah, keep them in line. But
if that wasn't around, there were no laws, you could sort of see it spiraling to something dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what always intrigued me about fanatics.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a passionate interest in things. It's just when you let it go unchecked, you can find yourself in dangerous territory, I think.
Or when you want other people to believe what you believe.
Right. And are on a mission to convince everybody else that your way is the right way.
And even worse, if you don't believe, then there's something wrong with you. You're evil.
Yeah.
I need to punish you. I'm the authority here. You don't believe. It's a slippery slope, to say the least. And this happens. So I always think of, rabid sports fans. I think of a preacher, evangelists. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to consider both of those types of people as children, right?
Yeah.
So at some point, the rabid sports fan had great joy maybe from playing a sport and watching sports, maybe watched it with his dad.
Maybe he found it a bonding experience. Yeah. Yeah, there was value in it.
Right. At some point, though, along the course of his life, it turned into fanaticism, right? Mm-hmm. It turned into something that is a double-edged sword. Maybe he gets some joy out of it, but he gets a lot of
misery
and just anguish.
And isn't it a little crazy to wrap our identity up in something that has nothing to do with us? Sports is totally, I'm not playing the game. I'm not on the football field. Like, why am I going to tie my moods to a game that I'm not even involved in?
You're an observer.
Yeah.
You're out of it. You have nothing to do with it.
Right.
You're just watching something. And I think of the preacher in the same way. So I think of like the preacher at some point was a kid, little kid, and maybe had a good, we all were, right? Maybe. Yeah. Maybe at some point. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was always an adult.
Right.
So the preacher at some point was a kid and got a joyous experience from being in church or being around religion or being around the
community or belonging, or maybe it was a family experience. But then there's some benefit, but at some point a line gets crossed. And
there's this turning point where now it turns into, you need to believe what I believe. This is the truth. It's no longer something that you could just have to your own that gives you joy.
That's right.
So it's a strange turning point. I see like a very similar kind of trait with like sports fanatics, preachers, evangelists. Mm-hmm. But I like to think of them as children that at some point they did get joy from this and it had no negative connotation to it.
No downside, right?
No downside. So at some point it changed. And then I try to think of all the ways, now that it's changed, how can that play out? And how is that dangerous to the person themselves and to the community around them, the family? And so we talked about finance. Yeah. So you have these heavy hitters making lots and lots of money, have large incomes. So I always use like a round figure because it's very
easy
high.
To grasp.
Yeah. $500,000 a year. Like not many people make that kind of money and up. You know, it's very rare. It's probably like the top 0.01%, right? Mm-hmm. And so I know some of these people, and a lot of them, I would say not the majority, but a lot of them literally are spending at their income level. So they have nothing. As long as that income goes, they're fine. As soon as they lose that income, they're done.
It decreases, right? Because what we've talked about, it's calling it like lifestyle creep. Like as your income increases, typically your expenses then follow suit. So you're always living in that redlining type of lifestyle. So many people are living several months from financial ruin.
Yeah, if not several weeks, or you know. Or they're in debt.
Well, because once you get the higher paying job, then you've got to play the part, so to speak. Well, you need the car to go along with that. And you need the wardrobe to go along with that. And more and more and more. And it's this pathway of excess.
Yes. And it's a fanaticism. It's a money fanaticism. It's basically
it's earning for the sake of earning. But like, what's the point? Like, you're just more money, more title, climbing the corporate ladder.
And why did you start the whole process? So you started the whole process of working so you can support yourself, right?
Right.
And then at what point does it turn to like, now I have to be on an all out, relentless kind of journey to like make more and have more and make more and have more and make more and have more and back and forth.
Yeah.
And then so basically you're a money fanatic. And I think what happens is they put the image of success ahead of the actual security that you can get.
Or meaningful work.
Meaningful work, right.
I mean, my ex-husband was very much the company guy. Like, he worked for one of the big banks in town. There's a lot of reasons I don't bank with them any longer. Not the least of which was that they employed my ex-husband. But he was very much that, drinking the corporate Kool-Aid. How can I better the company? But he was all about what other people thought. Like, he was obsessed about what other people thought of him.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember back when we were married, I took him to an event with me and he was horrified. Like, he was like having a freaking fit. He's like, why didn't you tell me people were dressed? I'm like, there's people in jeans, dude. Like, chill. Like, go get wine and just drink. And then they'll come back to me when you chilled the hell out a little bit more. But he was upset with me because he thought other people were going to judge his appearance or the clothes he was wearing. And I was like,
wow.
Like, so hyper focused on other people's opinions. It was exhausting to be around.
That's kind of where it comes from. It's always internalized. So it's always this, everybody's looking at me. Everybody's staring at me. I'm the center of the universe. Nobody cares about you, pal. Nobody's thinking about you as much as you are.
We went out and bought a brand new car like 2 weeks after we separated. Now, Neil say he didn't have a financial advisor in his life, but I was like, I'm going to go buy a brand new car. Like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was external. It was the status and the perception that was so important to him.
Yeah. And tying that back to being like a fanatic, it's just then that takes over your life, right? So
totally. Absolutely.
That's all you're thinking about. And that's, again, that's like where the day, like you can take this to any extreme and there's different levels to all of it. Obviously, like a very mellow level would be to be a sports fanatic. I mean, take that up a notch is when you're throwing your shoe at the TV because your team lost. Or, and then it could just notch up from there to
escalate. Yeah.
And I know this sounds like such almost like just exaggerating, but that can eventually lead to a tribalism that is kind of like, what happened in Nazi Germany, or
vicious and brutal and just
or like
line with humanity.
Like how do these violent groups get together? It's like they all start believing the same thing and not questioning it,
right?
Not having any self-awareness. Maybe I should look at the other side of this.
Yeah, I think the danger sets in when there's a deep unwillingness to allow for or consider alternate opinions and perspectives. It's like you can believe what you believe. And I think the dangerous part is when you refuse to accept that there might be alternate options than what you choose to believe.
With the religion thing, I feel like a lot of times it's presented as, I want this for you. You know what I mean? So I've had people say that to me, like, I really want this for you. Like what I have, I want for you. I'm in such a good place.
I want you to experience.
And knowing nothing knowing nothing about me, I want you to have what I have. But I don't really believe that that's authentic. Like, I feel like it's just coming across.
Like it's not authentically altruistic. Like there's some sort of benefit to them. Or
like an ulterior motive, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's strange. So like, I think it's like I'm walking around and I go to the gym a lot. It's like if I walked around and said, hey, I really want you to be in shape like me, and go up to like, fat people and to say, listen, I really want you to have what I have. I mean,
I want you to experience this too. Yeah.
Yeah. People just try to like put their like, they just try to get right in on your life. And it's like, back off, will you? I didn't ask you for anything.
Right.
Stop. Again, any type of preaching, any type of, fanaticism, it crosses a line
to a level of crazy. I mean, that's just
right.
crazy.
And it's funny. It's only what society allows. And we've talked about this on other posts. Like society allows certain things in different parts of the country, different parts of the world, right? So fanaticism isn't tolerated as much up in New York because there's so many
fanaticism.
Religious fanaticism, right?
New York's got its own issues. I mean, it's not painted.
It totally does. Actually, you're right. Sports fanaticism is totally tolerated up there.
It's totally encouraged. Yeah.
And encouraged. So yeah, specifically religious fanaticism. And reason being is because there's hundreds of different religions there and people from all walks of life that believe a million different things. And when
it's
you have
a total melting pot. Yeah. People from all over. It's more tolerant, I think.
It has to be. There's no other way.
There's so much diversity. It's like you can't really be exclusionary.
Yeah. And so when you're in an area where everybody believes the same thing, it's very easy to just be public with it. It's sort of like, everybody believes this, so I'm going to tell you what I think. And that's, again, I don't want to repeat things that we said in other posts, but like that's the thing I do miss about New York is that kind of like just not talked about. It's like you do you, like you say, you do you. I do me. You want to have a discussion. You want to ask questions. Yeah.
Whatever you want to do behind closed doors is cool.
We could talk about things, but don't push your shit on me. I mean, that's the whole idea with fanaticism is that it's just kind of, it gives me that icky kind of feeling. Whenever I see it in front of me, I'm like, it's very repulsive to me.
It's very off-putting. Yeah.
Untempered
enthusiasm. There's nothing wrong with enthusiasm. It's when it gets to the point of being completely untempered that it can be very dangerous.
And I always think of this image from like a cartoon when like the cartoon character has like pinwheel eyes.
Oh,
so like somebody who's a fanatic, like they'll just have these big bugged out eyes and like they're just kind of like looking through you and you're like, whoa, man, like take it easy.
Right.
As the crazy's coming up.
Well, they're talking at you, not talking with you. There's a difference in talking at someone and talking with someone. And fanatics tend to not be willing to engage in conversation, mutual conversation anyway. It's like very one-sided.
It's very one-sided.
I'm going to tell you, here's what I believe. Here's what you need to believe. It's not a conversation.
Yeah.
It's not a reciprocal conversation. It's a one-sided conversation.
Yeah. So if somebody's talking to me, I can kind of say, oh, well, I never considered that. Or, let me think about that. I never thought of it that way.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. I don't agree. Maybe I don't agree with it. Maybe I do, but I can consider it.
Yeah.
There's no consideration when you're dealing with a fanatic. They're just.
No, it's so extreme. It is all or nothing. It is total black and white. They miss the entire span of gray area that's in the middle, and they're just unwilling to see it.
So scary. That's
they're terrifying to be around. And then we talked, I love, what did we call it in the post? Psychotic small talk, like the experience of that. And you and I are both just like, we'll be running in the other direction. No, can we not talk about the weather? There'll be weather tomorrow. There was weather yesterday.
Yeah. Because I feel like their reasoning is so far out of whack. It's like they're so unpredictable.
Totally.
Because if they would believe this one train of thought and have no, not open to anything else, I'm like, how else are they thinking, in that way?
That extreme. It is. Extremism in any form is dangerous.
And I guess when you think about it I think about like the KKK, you think about some hillbilly from the mountains and you're like, all right, it's kind of stereotypical.
Right.
But it's not that. It's people that are highly educated and highly intelligent.
Yeah. Like reasonable people that when they come out with some crazy, it's just like, wait.
Yeah. What? And people in power too. People
that's a whole
other thing.
We don't need to.
They always talk about Mike Pence, right? Mike Pence is very religious,
I don't know.
That's what I heard. I don't know. I don't know the guy. Yeah. So, and then when it comes to money, so the money thing, it just goes down a dark road because it's a never ending cycle. You could always spend, look at a guy like Mike Tyson. He's made over $150 million in his career, spent every dime of it, was broke. There's no amount of money that you can't not spend.
Oh, totally.
So
there's endless options if you're looking to spend money.
Yeah.
You're never going to run out of them.
Plenty of open hands. Yeah.
Totally.
I'm looking to take it. Yeah, so that's kind of the post on fanaticism. I wanted to get into how just the train of thought and just the mentality can kind of go down so many different paths. It could be religion, it could be finance, it could be sports, it could be so many different things.
Food, drugs. Take it wherever you want to take it. But yeah, too much of anything. It's not only not healthy, it's not sustainable over the long term.
Yeah, food. I didn't even think of food. You think about veganism and all that kind of thing. And
yeah,
there's so many terms that I've never even heard of. There's the octo one where you could have eggs, but you can't have this. Pescatarian, you can have fish, but you can't do this.
Right.
And that's fine. You can make that decision.
That's cool. Yeah.
But if you walk around, what if you walked around and you walked into every restaurant? You're like, hey, you're serving meat in this restaurant. That's right. I'm against that. We got to close this place up.
Yeah, you're evil. Yeah, it's
at what point?
It yourself. You decide where you want to eat, and you decide where you want to spend your money. But
again, you do you. Well,
it's that it comes back to judgment. Fanaticism inherently involves judging another as wrong or bad or inferior, and that is where the danger, I think, really comes in.
Yeah, my way is the right way.
Mm-hmm.
My way is the right way. Yeah,
maybe. Good for that.
Exactly. Walk through life thinking your way is the right way. That's
the only way.
And the only way.
All right, come on, people.
Yeah, man. You got fitness fanatics, right?
Totally.
People that doing steroids, doing kind of crazy stuff for performance enhancements. Yeah, you could take anything to an extreme. I remember watching that movie. I can't remember the name of it, but it was about the piano player. He was playing that Rachmaninoff piece, and he was literally laying on the piano, and his fingers were just going, his mind was just in this crazy state because he wanted to nail this piece, and he literally made himself crazy by playing so much and
to such an extreme.
Such an extreme, he literally lost his mind and snapped. It won an Academy Award. I can't remember the movie.
I can picture.
Some of the audience can. Yeah,
I can't. figure out the name either. It'll be 10 minutes after we stop recording.
Exactly.
It speaks to a level of obsession that doesn't feel healthy. I mean, it just doesn't feel fun.
No.
That type of extreme.
But I want to dig in. Where does it come from? Like, what's the need that we're trying? Like, obviously we want something by doing this, right? Mm-hmm. You become a fanatic because you're getting something from it. Like, we don't behave in any way
without some benefit that we're receiving.
Whether that benefit is negative or positive.
Sure. Like
perceived benefit, right?
Well,
now, obviously,
is reality.
Cocaine gives you benefits, but it's not good for you. Yeah, like, it makes you awake and alert and all that, but great.
I'll stick to coffee. Yeah,
stick to coffee. Tempering these things, yeah.
I'm nonverbal without coffee. Like in the morning, nope, don't talk to me until I've had caffeine.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
But you can take anything to an extreme, and it's a level of excess that's where the danger really, really lies. So.
Yeah, it gets scary with the tribalism part, though. When people start forming groups, you can rattle this stuff in your own head and be okay. But like when you basically form a group
against another group,
or like it's my way and my way is the only right way. And then, my way is the only right way. You too? Yeah. Okay. You're part of my group. Let's go. Let's build this big group.
Everybody else is evil. And And then,
there's outsiders and we're the insiders. You're the outsiders. It creates this distance. It's like,
it's the opposite of connection. It's divisive.
But I guess what's the feeling that they're getting that they think is beneficial? What's feeding? Because it's serving a purpose.
Yeah, that's a feeling of belonging.
Belonging
to a group, identifying with a group. Don't you think?
Yeah,
my
like society
theory, but
yeah, like it's part of it's almost like a family, right? They're trying to create some sort of community, family feeling,
right?
Why couldn't they do it in a different way? Why does it have to be so extreme? And why does it have to negate like everybody else's ideas? And that's where I don't get it. I don't get why it needs to be in that form.
Well, but fanatics are, by their nature, probably not willing to have such conversations with people. They're not even willing to consider having such a conversation.
And again, why? Like, I always wonder why. Why are they unwilling
why do you
to have
to know why?
It is what it is.
Cover here.
I want to know the root of this.
What happened to them in their childhood that imprinted this type of behavior?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a million different ways to it.
There's so many variables, right? There's millions of variables that all coincided and one after another that brought them to that place somehow.
Manifest in a level of crazy that horrifies some of the rest of us. Walking the planet with them. Like, I don't know. You seem unhinged.
Yeah. I guess it's the whole idea of the self-awareness part. Like when people lack that kind of any kind of self-awareness, not even talking like a meditator, just have some sort of awareness.
Not even self-aware, like a willingness to consider alternate perspectives, willingness to just accept people as they are.
Yeah, but willingness, but self-awareness just in the sense that they could kind of look back on themselves and see how they're acting. Where the guy at the sports bar screaming at the TV, kicking things, yelling, muttering to himself.
He's probably divorced. I mean, can you imagine living with that? I feel bad for his kids. Like they're stuck with him.
I almost wanted to call social services.
Because it makes me wonder where's mom? Like it's guys with 3 kids at a bar, watching football,
drinking beer after beer, like in the afternoon on a Sunday. I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, I can talk about this stuff all day and just, try to rip apart
psychoanalyze the world.
Yeah, they do things. There's no use in trying to understand sometimes. Things are just the way they are.
Sometimes they are. Just
crazy world. All right, so that's fanaticism. Unless there's anything else you want to add, Diane.
No, I think we covered it pretty well.
Okay, so that was episode 16. Fanaticism. There's a lot of fanatics out there.
There are. Stay away from them.
Oh, especially when driving. Oh, God.
People are so crazy on the road here. We talk about it a lot, but drivers in Charlotte I grew up I learned to drive in New York. I never driven in cities around the country. Yeah, Charlotte drivers are crazy.
Well, there's no cell phone laws. I mean, how do you not have a cell phone law?
Everyone is driving around distracted. Everyone who's driving around is so freaking unpredictable.
I can't, when I see guys on like, or girls on motorcycles,
yeah,
I'm like, what do you have, a death wish? I'm like,
there was one on Providence Road the other day, like weaving in and out of traffic, and I'm watching it. I just want to get as far away from you as possible. Like,
yeah, like it gives me so much anxiety seeing like a motorcycle like flying down the road past me. I'm like, I'm going to see him dead, like up a mile ahead. Like I don't want to see that.
No, but
and it's not even his driving. I'm like, I'm sure you're a good motorcycle driver, but you realize there's people on their cell phones that are like split-second thing where they swerve into your lane and knocks you off that bike. Freaks me out.
It's crazy. It's not the worst city I've ever driven, and that would be Boston. But yeah, Charlotte's pretty high up there.
Yeah, Charlotte's up there.
So what are we talking about next week?
All right. So next week we got episode 17, and I'm going to stop myself from saying I can't wait to talk about this topic. And this is a great topic, but it really is.
Overcoming. We're gonna have fun with it no matter what.
It's called Overcoming Fear.
Okay.
Man, we all deal with that, right?
Fear is pretty common. Yep.
And it's funny, like fear like comes in so many different forms. Like, we always think of fear as like...
there's different levels of fear and anxiety.
Yeah. There's like existential fears of like, death, and that kind of thing. But then there's fears of...
Yeah.
Fear of success, fear of failure, fear of...
Isn't that an interesting conversation?
Fear of relationships, fear of intimacy.
Let's not go there. No.
All right. Like your mind will conjure limitless fears.
Totally. Yes. Often only existing within your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always think of that Mark Twain quote where he says, all the troubles in my life, most of which never happened.
Never happened.
Or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So next week will be Overcoming Fear, episode 17. Please follow us, faconfessions.com, and like and subscribe and share. Well, it was fun, Diane. Another good one.
It was fun.
All right. The next week will be Overcoming Fear. So see you next time.
See you next time.